I don't know if you can hear it, but can you hear my dog snoring over
No,
here? I'm really curious when I play this back if it gets picked up because he has been just sawing logs for about 10 minutes.
I hope so. I think that would be like such a comfort moment of just a snoring dog in the back.
Sliding into your screen is not just any coffee can. It's a Roastar coffee can. Don't need thousands. Personalize just one in Roastar's Design Lab. No design experience needed. Choose a pattern, add your logo and text, or create something memorable with AI. Being made in the Midwest, you can expect it on your doorstep in no time. Now that was smooth.
On that side. And with that, I think we're like off and running if that's all right with you.
That's perfect. It's good.
All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Coffee People podcast presented by Roastar Coffee Packaging. You can find them online at roastar.com. I'm your host, Ryan Woldt. I'm in the middle of season 15 of this show. We've done a lot of episodes. You can find them online at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you're listening. And if you're there, give us a like and 5 stars or whatever they ask you to do. It actually helps. And I feel warm and fuzzy somewhere in the world when you do. And now that we've gotten through all those basics, I've got a good cup of coffee. I hope that the rest of you do too. We're ready for a conversation with a new guest today. Cait, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I am Cait Rifkin. I manage a coffee roasting company called Snake River Roasting Co. out in Jackson, Wyoming. And I've been in the coffee industry now for 6 or 7 years. I'm lucky enough that I work for a roasting company that is pretty tiny but mighty. So with that comes a lot of hats. And I've really enjoyed stepping into like green coffee buying and sourcing, roasting. This year has challenged me a lot with equipment needs and learning more about how to be a roaster tech myself. So yeah, it's a lovely little company that just keeps the coffee world very fresh and new. Always a learner there.
You just referenced tiny but mighty, also a little bit isolated out there in Wyoming. I would
Yes.
imagine there's not just like a bunch of coffee techs living down the street, so you kind of are forced to learn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a few other coffee roasting companies that also are in Jackson, all great people, but there is definitely that feeling in Jackson of, ooh, keep our secrets, which also is, I mean, I think the company that I work for in particular, it's mostly a female team and it's like just amazing women, but like we tend to be very playful with how we view coffee and roasting coffee and building relationships. But there is like this secretness with the roasters that are around us. So you are like on an island, kind of, except very landlocked at the same time.
Is
Um,
that is that a good thing though? I mean, that you are secretive with your neighbors to some extent, or like does that keep the magic alive for Snake River Roasting, which I want to say Snake River Roasting co.com. I have a co.com website as well.
yes.
Um, is that a good thing that you're maybe not as engaged with them in sharing ideas, or is it really that you're just in your own lane here because you've got so much to do anyway?
Yeah, I think it's a good question because something that really drives me in the coffee industry is community. And when I go to expos or summits and things like that, building community with other roasters or producers or whatever it might be has been something that's really fueled me. But it's different when it comes to the company in the sense that like we are so into what we're doing and so passionate about what we're doing that I think it's okay that we don't have a lot of community locally because we've really found it internationally, I would say. Like we have great roasting friends that are all over the US and then amazing friends that live in producing countries that those communities have really driven us a lot. But as far as it would be nice to have that person down the street that you're like, hey, this part broke. Do you know how to fix it? Or have you dealt with this before? And
Yeah.
there's really not a lot of that. But so I wish we had a little bit more of that, because we really are. I think like Idaho Falls is about 2 hours away from us. That's considered a pretty big city. It's not really. It's like more of a suburby kind of city. And then Salt Lake City is about 5 hours away. And that's like probably where I would find a roaster tech if I needed one. But yeah.
The internet has made a lot of things easier, but actually fixing something is not one of those things necessarily. Although, if the commercials are to be believed, I can show my phone like some tools and it'll tell me what to do with them. But, I don't believe it.
One day we'll get there.
I hope not, honestly. Like I think the ad I saw during the World Series last night was like, you should be asking your phone to do more, and I was like, I would like my phone to do less. Like, do less things for me. Like, give me a map and let me make a phone call. That's like the end of my requirements. Everything else is a distraction.
There is a resurgence of the nostalgic like landline. Have you seen this, where you can connect it to your cell phone so that when you're in your house, your landline will ring? And so you don't
I haven't seen that. No.
Like, it's great. Like, I think you're with a lot of people. A lot of people are wanting that nostalgia of your phone doing less.
Sure. Well, it puts me at a certain age, which I don't necessarily hide, but I don't advertise either. You mentioned, obviously we're talking about Wyoming here, but I know that you weren't always in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little backstory? How did you end up there, and how did you get into coffee on the way there?
I tell this story a lot, I guess, and it is kind of it seems a little hallmarky, but I started.
I know exactly what you mean when you say that too.
Yes. Yeah. I went to school for social work. I got a bachelor's in social work, and I grew up in Wisconsin to actually start in a better way. I grew up in Wisconsin, got a bachelor's degree in social work. From there, immediately started working at a residential hospital that helped people with anxiety and OCD. And I did that for about 7 years. And it was a behavioral kind of therapy that I would help with, where people were doing exposure therapy and all. It was very cool, very beautiful to be able to help people and build connections through that. And I met my now husband while doing that job. And we worked together for a couple of years, and then he finished his master's degree and wanted to go on a little road trip. And he got in an old Subaru and drove out west. I think he was planning on going to Montana, but he pit stopped in Jackson, Wyoming, and his car broke down here. And very much to like the whole story that we've been talking about with Wyoming so far, it took like a week or something for the part to come in. And so he met a couple guys here, ended up signing a lease, creating a little life room here. I stayed in Wisconsin for a bit, and then I ended up moving here myself. And now he's been here for like, I don't know, 11 or so years, and I've been here about 8. And when I moved here, I was very tired just with social work. It was just like a heavy lift, I loved what I did, but it was a heavy job. And so I just kept being like, I just want to work in a coffee shop for like, I don't know, like 3 months, just reset. I'll be a barista. Like, it seems so cool. And I got a job at a local grocery store that also had a coffee little nook in it. And I took like a supervisor role or something. But I had the caveat of like, I just want to work like at least one shift as a barista. Like, I want to do something with coffee. And so they gave that to me. And when I started baristaing, Snake River Roasting Co., my current company that I work for, they were hosting a barista training. And they invited people to come into the roastery and see. And I got asked by my supervisor to go. And I went. And I remember leaving Snake River after that like 8-hour training and calling my dad, who's a huge coffee lover, and being like, oh my God, you would have loved what I just did. It was so cool. Went over all these details. Like, did you know this? Did you know that? And then my husband came home from work and I was telling him about it. And he's like, you should really apply. And I was like, no, like they're so cool. Like they know so much about coffee. Like, no. And he's like, no, I think you should. And then one of the girls that worked at Snake River at that time, at that point, it was female owned, and I think the whole team was females as well, which like my social work background also like hit a note there. But one of the girls like kept telling me to apply. And at this point, COVID was happening. And the owner at the time was like, you can come on, but this is a mess right now. Like coffee's crazy right now. The roasting company is crazy right now. I'm just trying to figure it out. So anyway, that's how I got into Snake River. And then that previous owner, she, after COVID, was pretty ready to retire herself. And so for about a year, I was able to just be like super educated on everything. So she put me through a lot of SCA courses. She taught me a lot about green coffee buying and sourcing and roasting, like top down, taught me everything. And that was what I did for a year straight, which was amazing. And then she told me that she was stepping away from the company and selling it. And when she sold the company, I was promoted to the general manager and then was handed over the green coffee buying and all of that as well. And now I'm like very into coffee in the most beautiful way.
I want to go back to something, which is COVID. What was that?
COVID? Like
just
the
kidding.
Pandemic? Like I'm not.
I seem to have blocked that out of my memory.
Yeah,
I have no recollection whatsoever of what that was like.
Yeah.
That's really cool that the owner took the time to leave a foundation for whomever came in next. Did you know while you were learning that that was the case?
There was signs. I just remember towards the end, like right before she sold the company, we started going to these meetings. She would like have me tag along with her for everything. Her name was Ruth Ann Petroff, and she's a mentor and an icon in my opinion. But she would have me come to like basically every meeting, and she had a consultant come in, and originally she's like, he's going to help us with like our grocery displays or whatever. And then he kept being like, is this a part of your exit plan? To Ruth Ann. And I was like, okay,
yeah,
we're exit planning. Okay. But I think originally, no, she's so passionate about coffee, and the reason why she started Snake River was because she had opened a cafe and wanted to roast her own coffee for it, and then ended up closing the cafe and just growing the roasting company. So, and even now she's retired from this business, but she helps like a local espresso catering company. And then she also, I like every once in a while will get like coffee education prompts, and like Ruth Ann will be like in the back somewhere at like a coffee thing. And I'm like, oh, there she is, still learning.
Any consideration for you to buy the business once you found that out?
I think I was so young. I wish like hindsight 2020, I love the company I work for. I love what I do, but I just didn't know if I wanted to go there yet. And I didn't know if it was going to be like my ultimate fit.
Sure.
But now that I'm where I'm at, I'm like living in such a beautiful place that I like don't regret not owning it, because also our owner, his name is Meki, and he's incredible and like very supportive. And the way that he can provide for Snake River, because he has other companies, it's like a part of a network now. I would never have been able to do that. And like I get to go to Origin pretty frequently. I get to go to expos. I get to go to summits. Like I have a lot of education, and that is because there is financial backing that if I was to purchase probably wouldn't be there. So, but I live in a very beautiful way with Snake River, that's for sure.
You mentioned being tired earlier of your previous career. And I want to clarify that you meant was like physically tired, not like sick of people in that field or sick of that industry necessarily, but like it's exhausting to do that job both physically and emotionally day in and day out.
Yeah.
I have a heavy dose of anxiety, and I'm sure my wife is exhausted all the time. But also just seeing that from, my wife works in that field as well. I thought it was interesting when you said you were like, I just want to be a barista. Like that like that would be easier in retrospect. Do you find that this is more relaxing or that it's just sparking you in a different way?
It's honestly such a different way. And I'm glad you brought that up. I also have a heavy dose of anxiety, which I like talking about it because I have a friend that's fortunate to be like, hey, your anxiety is not the typical person's anxiety. And I think that there is something about people that have anxiety disorders that are also pulled to help people or like help other people with anxiety. And I just didn't realize that mine wasn't in the same class as maybe like a typical person, if you want to say. Um, but I think like what's different for me is that I was seeing people one on one and I tend to carry people's weight with me. And so I would leave and have all this weight on me. Where right now, the way that I source a green coffee, I'm able to think very ethically and help support female producers and causes that I really am very passionate about. And also, Snake River is very, very generous with how we use our money as far as like charities and things like that. So I think it's still scratching that itch of helping people, but in a way that I can also be healthy. And I think the reason why I really wanted to be a barista, and I talked to a barista actually back in Wisconsin, and she really reminded me of this. She's like, when someone comes in to get a coffee, you're almost always making their day better. Like the whole reason that they're coming to see you is because they want to make their day a little bit more special. And when I worked at the hospital, whenever, I mean, we were going to Starbucks at that time, which, you know, is what it is. But whenever we would go to Starbucks, it was like, oh gosh, yay, we're going to Starbucks today. And so I just associated it with a comfort and like, oh, I want more comfort. And when I talk to people that have come from other fields into coffee, they frequently talk about how they wanted some sort of comfort when they decided to switch to coffee. And they found this love and comfort in coffee. And so that's really where it sparked is I was just like so wanting to help people, wanting to make things better, but also just like needed to comfort myself. And I by no means, I'm not a barista right now. And that's a challenging job. Like you're very physically tired by the end of the day. You're standing on your feet and cranking. Coffee in general is a bunch of hustlers and workers and, you know, movers and shakers, but there's so much joy and passion there. And I still get to make people's day better. So it hits all the boxes, if you will.
Sure. You've mentioned a few times being part of a mostly female team, having a female mentor, previous owner, supporting female farmers. I found this term on your website, the Cafe Feminino model. And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that is and how it benefits not just Snake River, but, you know, the bigger audience that you're working with there.
Yeah, Cafe Feminino is a really beautiful foundation that was started in 2006. And basically it was started in Peru in a co-op of women that were doing a lot of labor on the farm. And to be very fair, like a lot of labor in coffee comes from women. And we talk more recently, I think I've been surrounded by some really amazing people that are talking about how much invisible work comes from women in the coffee industry. And Cafe Feminino decided that they were going to start something that would basically separate out the work that the women had done and that buyers would be able to buy it for a higher premium and there would be some regulations around it. So like women in leadership is a part of it and women being able to start projects and ask for certain grants for things for their farm and that women would receive the money back. And what programs like Cafe Feminino have done is that they've allowed community change as well, because they will see that what women choose to do with money when it comes in is different than what men choose to do with money. And so like they might be investing in like their daughter's education or allowing more education, or the way that they would upgrade the farm is different, or things that they'll try are different. So it's a really cool program. And there are more and more program or even importers that are trying to highlight female producers and female owned farms, because it's just science at this point that like women use money differently and women invest in communities. And that's really helping them thrive, create better coffee, but also live a more sustainable life.
How does it impact you then as the green buyer? I mean, that's obviously something you're looking for, is the impact that you're going to have with the money you're spending. But does it narrow your purchasing choices in a way that's beneficial? Does it change how you present it to your team? I mean, as the buyer, the person making this choice, what does that mean to you, and how do you use it?
I'm really lucky in the fact that I'm very passionate about the way that I buy, and the team that surrounds me tends to be incredibly passionate about the way that I buy. So I do think I'm really lucky that I'm able to make that decision. And I also feel like it's never hindered quality for me. Like Snake River also buys incredibly high quality coffee. And I think what's been really interesting about it is when I go to an importer or someone that can source this coffee for me, the amount of like incredibly high graded women produced coffee that's out there. And then I get to showcase that. And it's not like, oh, I bought this coffee because women made it. It's like, this is damn good coffee and women made it. That I think just continues to fuel my team. And then we're really lucky because as a bunch of women going to these other countries, we're also meeting other women that are on the supply chain. And we're able to see like that there's, I mean, a lot of differences, but a lot of similarities. And there's just like an immediate common ground because being a female buyer alone, it's not uncommon for me to be in a room where everyone else is a dude. And that usually goes okay for me because I'm very confident in that space. But like every once in a while, like it feels undermining or like I have to be a little louder or whatever it might be. But you see that with women producers too, that are like, no, I have to like speak up a little louder. Or I have to make someone respect me. And there's so much commonality between that, between whether you're a green buyer or a roaster, whatever it might be. If men traditionally have dominated that area of coffee, you are still definitely a minority in that. Even like fixing a roaster, like we're calling male techs. And I kid you not, one of the first times that we called them, I talked to him on the phone, but the tech said, no, I don't hear that noise when he was talking to me. And at the time, I had a male espresso tech, and I was like, hey, will you call him back? Same exact noise, maybe 20 minutes later. And he was like, oh my God, yeah, I hear that noise. This is what it is. And as much as like you hope that that wouldn't happen, I'm like, it just, you see it and you see it throughout the supply chain. And so I have the ability and the power to help support other women and to hopefully lift them up and showcase them. And I just do it as much as I possibly can.
I think I'm an example of, I mentioned, I come with a healthy dose of anxiety. That's not always been the case because I was kind of given the benefit of the doubt as a kid, as a white dude growing up in a mostly homogenous community. And I never questioned my thought process or my decision making, until later in life. And I don't, I think it's great for especially parents to provide kids or instill confidence in them. But it also made me blind to the idea that maybe my way was wrong. And I get the impression that a younger generation coming up isn't necessarily dealing with some of that same stuff, but it's still there, obviously. But I've kind of been internally monologuing a little bit selfishly. You mentioned how men and women spend money differently. And I was thinking back to a conversation that I had maybe 20 years ago with my wife where I was like, I did this great thing today. I bought a motorcycle. And she was like, oh, I paid for health insurance. I was like, oh, cool. Like, we need both those things.
Yeah. Maybe more if you own the motorcycle.
Yeah, definitely more. I do. Yeah. I don't own it anymore. You mentioned Ruth Ann Petrov. I think that's the name. I hope I didn't get that wrong. As a mentor and the previous owner of Snake River, do you feel like now that you're advancing in your career and you're at a level of leadership at Snake River Roasting, that you're a role model or a possible mentor to people below you? Is that something that's important to you to offer them?
I think it's a good question. And when I saw that as a potential question for today, I don't think of myself as a role model or a mentor. I really, and I think inherently I probably am, just because I do have a team underneath me. And I think that can go one way or the other with leadership. But I think something that's really important to me is to always be the person that's learning. And in the sense of like, even if I am showing leadership to someone else, I want them to always have this humble moment of like, I don't know much about this industry. Because I think what that does is it helps you be more creative about what's going on around you. I mean, coffee right now, you have to be creative about what's going around. And so I want to create a space where people can learn, and there's also like less anxiety or less stress about when mistakes happen, because again, we're all learning together and we're all in this together. But I definitely want to be someone that inspires other people to try things and do things and think differently. But I think that I'm so young at doing this that I'm like, I'm not there yet, but I'm just trying things. And I hope that it helps people see like, you don't have to like stick in a bubble. Like, it works. Like, you can lean into what you're passionate about. And I think the only other thing I would say is like, when I got my social work degree, I was like, oh, I got a degree in this, so I have to stay in this field. And making the decision to leave social work was the best thing I could have done for myself. And I think like more younger people should hear that like, think about why you went into that field. And if the field doesn't feel good to you, then just think about like the top qualities that you want. And there's so many jobs out there that will help you have that same experience that you're wanting to provide, right? Like, when I was in college, I probably had no idea that I could make social impact through buying green coffee. And it's one of the biggest joys of my job is that I can do that. And so I think like, be creative and don't think that you're necessarily stuck in that little bubble, and always kind of be seeking new things and growing, and like learner mentality, like that almost like childlike mentality when you're looking at something keeps everything so fresh.
What makes for a good cup of coffee for you?
Oh gosh. I mean, there's so many good answers to that question. I think like the people that you have it with makes a great cup of coffee. But a good cup of coffee, it's funny because sometimes you're at like a cupping table and there's all these like gorgeous coffees on the table, and they're like, which one do you like the most? I'm like, well, they're all beautiful, but like that one that tastes like Fruit Loops, that one is so good. But then I probably wouldn't drink that every day, and I would probably drink this comfort coffee over here every day. So, so many things. But what I think really makes a good cup of coffee is this understanding that I now have for how many people worked on this cup of coffee, and being able to share that, and being able to share like just that, even knowing how passionate everyone for this little tiny bean was up until the process of me drinking it. It makes a dang good cup of coffee. But I don't know, flavor wise, I could go all over the board. I love coffee. I love trying new coffees. There's do you know Discourse from Wisconsin?
I do, yeah. Out of Milwaukee, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
The specialty drinks that they're making at that coffee shop are insane. Like, I just saw that they made like a pot pie latte or something, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll fly home. Like, the things that people are doing on that side are also like, I don't know, just surprise me. I could tell you something that makes a bad cup of coffee though. And that
Sure.
is when someone burns milk when they're steaming their milk. That's like an unforgivable for me. I can't.
Can you hear it if you're in a cafe?
Yes. Yeah.
I can hear it and I go, oh shit. And then I just smile and I take the coffee and I like leave it on a table and I usually
Yeah.
go.
I feel bad about it every time, but like, that's the only like burnt milk. Yeah, I can't get around it.
I have the coffee cocktail recipe book from the guy from Discourse, and when I got it and opened it up, I went, "Oh, I'm not making any of these. Like, this is too comp. I'm
Yeah.
not that good of a barista to do this."
Yeah.
Um, we only get so much time on these shows to learn from other people, and we have this segment called Coffee Smarter, which Roastar has kind of asked me to ask other people, how can we help other people listening to the show. I'm wondering, you've already given us some great starting points here, but on this point in particular, how can the customers coming into a cafe buying the coffee, how can they have a better experience, a better coffee experience generally?
Yeah. The thing that I'll say is people make coffee, right? Like very literally, but also great coffee comes from people that are really passionate and typically very friendly, and is my experience. And so leaning into those relationships, because I think the other thing that you'll find about it is no matter what part of the coffee experience you're most worried about, whether it's consistency, quality, your actual drink, ethics, environmental, whatever it is with coffee, the people that you want to surround yourself with, if you want to have consistent, good coffee, are the people that are very passionate about what they're doing, because they'll they'll create brewers by themselves. Like people love this drink so much. And so find yourself a local shop that is willing to talk to you about who produced their coffee, that the baristas know who produced the coffee. Like have that chatty conversation with that cashier, that barista. Like if you don't know a lot about coffee and it's intimidating, don't feel like you have to go to the shop where someone's being snobby to you. Like go and be with your friends. Like it should be a fun, good experience to enjoy coffee. It is such an amazing part of our day that we all look forward to. So find the right shop that has really great people, because you also know that they're doing a really good job for you because they want to.
It's a bit of a management pet peeve for me to, if I go somewhere and I order a drip coffee, which is my first thing usually with an espresso, and I say, "Oh, what's on drip today? What are you serving?" And the answer is like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah.
And that's not on that person behind the counter generally, but it's on the person somewhere above them that didn't think that it mattered enough to teach those people who would then teach me as the customer what's happening. Um, Jackson, Wyoming, you mentioned a beautiful place. Who are you outside of coffee? I assume you're not living in Jackson if you're not going outside sometimes, but
Yeah.
what are the things outside of work that bring you back to reality?
Yeah. That's a hard one for me. I tend to be a bit of a workaholic, but I just love coffee. But we definitely go out a lot. It's the whole reason for living here, like you said. Um, just learned how to ski in the West the last couple of years, which is very different than skiing in Wisconsin, which shouldn't even be considered skiing.
Where
Uh,
did you learn in Wisconsin, might I ask?
gosh, it's like by Wisconsin Dells. What's the place?
Oh,
Right
okay.
off the highway. What is that place?
Yep. I'll find the name of it and link to it in the newsletter, but I know where that is. Yeah.
Yeah, my brother actually would take me, and I remember the first time I went with him, I think he was doing everything right, but I like took a wrong turn, and all of a sudden there was like ramps and jumps, and like it was in my head it's like a cartoon of how bad that went. But yeah, it's definitely a wild game here learning how to ski. We got our first snow yesterday, so it's very fresh top of mind that ski season is here. Backpacking, we own like a little property that outside of Jackson, about an hour, that is a burnt forest that me and my husband are restoring with like a bunch of baby trees, which is so cool. Um,
What made that something you wanted to do? I mean, if usually when people say we're buying some land, it's because they're going there to relax. Why buy land that you have to work on?
yeah, my husband, I like to say that his personality is straight border collie. Like you gotta work him. Like, and this is his decision. So so far we've owned the land for like 3 years, and I think we've planted 450 baby trees on it,
Wow.
which then we also hand water said baby trees. which it's mountainous. So you're climbing up and down mountains. I have just like the tiniest appreciation or understanding, I should say, of what a coffee farmer does in those mountainous areas by carrying this water on my back. But we spend a lot of time over there. It's on this migration corridor that's like highly protected. And everyone that's in that subdivision has like an extreme love for wildlife, which is also really important to me and my husband. So when we got the opportunity to purchase this land, we were like, well, we have to. It's on one of like the major migration routes in the US. So really cool. We spent a lot of time there. We're building like a little cabin on it. It's great. That's fun. But like a lot of outdoors time. Trail running sometimes with some friends. I like to do a lot of art. I'm a busy gal. I do a lot of things. Yeah.
There's also quite the stack of books behind you.
Yeah.
If you had to share one book with us, what would that book be on that shelf?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I just started a new series. I read a lot as well. I started a new series called Dungeon Crawler Carl, I think is the order of those words. It is this chaotic book, but I'm having the best time. It's basically like a video game in a book, and he has a cat, and I just got a cat. So it just feels perfect, you know?
Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you really wanted to talk about or you wanted people to know about Snake River, about your coffee efforts, anything else in the world?
I guess the only other thing that I would say is politics, I think, are something that are very alive and well. And I think if you're going into coffee buying, something that I'm really learning in the last few years, and I wish someone would have given me this advice earlier, is how much politics influence coffee buying, especially in producing countries as well. And I think, especially if you're a United States person, we tend to be very focused on our own individual politics. And the things that I've learned over the last couple of years is starting to expand that more into all of the countries that I'm also gathering coffee from. It's been a giant pool to jump into that I just wish I would have had that information earlier. But I mean, I have it now. But I would definitely start to think about like what's going on in the countries that you're sourcing from, because I think that helps with a little bit more consistency of what to expect. And also, I think if you are a buyer in particular, you're going to do yourself a whole lot of good to build relationships with those producers. 2 years ago, when Brazil had that frost, I knew about it before I would say most people knew about it. And I had my coffee secured for the year before it had even hit news. And that was all because of those relationships that I built. So ultimately, like, it's so many areas to dive into, but the politics piece and the producer relationship piece, I think, are so key, and people maybe aren't talking about those pieces as much.
I appreciate that you're looking at the politics as this learning piece that can help you in your career, and I'm just looking at it as the thing that brings me more anxiety.
Yes, that too, though. I mean, it does. It does.
When you're out in the world and you got to stop into let's say a good coffee shop that's not, they don't have Snake River, but what is it that you would generally order?
So usually my husband will always order a pour over, and then I will order a cortado, and then we share. But the new thing that I'm also doing is any like specialty seasonal item that they're really excited about, I will get that too. I had like a strawberry latte somewhere, which I had had a strawberry latte before, but this one, it tasted like Nesquik strawberry milk, and I think about it frequently. So just like that mix of like a little bit of traditional, also some fun factor that people are stoked on. So I typically am ordering at least 2 to 3 drinks if I'm very excited about a place.
Which is great. I had to really convince my wife that it was okay to order more than one. She'd be like, "Well, I already got one." I'm like, "No, but you would like to try more than one, right? Like, we don't have to drink it."
Yeah, just roll
we can
this
get
moment
there.
back to her. Like,
Yeah, I
at
will.
least 2 to 3 drinks.
I want to make sure we say it one more time. People can learn more about the company you work for or order coffee, I assume. SnakeRiverRoastingCo.com, social media, Snake River Roasting Co. As well. Those links will be in this show and our show notes and our newsletter everywhere. Caitlin, thank you for spending the time, and it sounds like you're really busy, so now I appreciate it even more. Anything else we want to say to anyone?
No, this was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Is your husband a coffee person too?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's the worst critic I have. If he'll tell me exactly. If I brew him coffee, he's like, I think it's a little off today. I'm like, oh, okay. We love it. We love a consistent, honest person. But I mean, he consumes a lot of Snake River coffee.